As parents, we're all too familiar with these tough moments. Your child's melting down in the grocery store, they're refusing to transition at bedtime, or they're just completely overwhelmed by a simple change in routine. These challenging moments, what we're actually witnessing is a dysregulation of their nervous system in action. The constant bombardment or stimuli in today's world, from screens to scheduled activities to environmental toxins, it just creates an epidemic of overwhelmed, overworked nervous systems in our children. And the result is just skyrocketing rates of anxiety, sensory processing issues, and even behavioral challenges that leave parents feeling helpless and exhausted. And what if I told you, though, that you and your child already possess a powerful tool to help regulate your child's nervous system naturally without medication? These are simple daily activities that I want to give you today that can actually help change anxiety to calm, meltdowns to more manageable, easier emotions, and sensory overload into more balanced processing. That's what I want to explore and dive into today. These 6 strategies are what you can do at home with your child to help their biology rather than work against it. So, I want to walk you through these 6 powerful yet simple strategies to regulate your child's nervous system at home. Now, I know this is a little bit like preaching to the choir, but even for me as a parent, I love to rehear these things because they're the things we need to double down on. They're the things that we need to remember as a parent that, hey, if we stay here, this is what's really going to help us. Instead of going from an outside in approach, or instead of feeling like, oh, I need medication or I need something else, or what can I do in the moment at 10 at night to get my kid to go to bed? I want to look through these specific activities that help activate the parasympathetic rest or digest response so they're not always stuck in that sympathetic ramped up go 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 mode all the time. Now, these techniques, they've helped a lot of people. And like I said, they're not new, but we want to look at them at how to reduce those meltdowns, improve speed, and just create more peace in our home, right? Can I get an amen, parents? So awesome. Number one, again, preaching to the choir. Get outside every single day. Daily outdoor time provides what we call nervous system nutrition, the perfect blend of sensory input from around us that's going to help regulate the brain, while the children being outdoors receive natural light that helps regulate circadian rhythms. And then the varied sensory input in every single thing that they're touching, they're feeling, they're around. This actually helps their brains really focus on something called proprioception. Proprioception is the input that goes into the brain that's awareness from the body. And this happens naturally when our kids move. But it happens even more clearly when they're outside, barefoot. You got extra positive points, right? Maybe not in the winter, but this gives an overwhelmed nervous system the chance to rest, recalibrate without the constant bombardment of stimuli that triggers that sympathetic fight or flight response. Now, I like to say 1 to 2 hours a day if possible, even in the less than ideal weather. And I love the Scandinavian phrase for this. They say things like, there's no bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. Well, I would say that goes as far as, below zero temperatures, but, there's always caveats to this. So do your best and forget the rest with it. Number two, create device-free play environments. Now, electronic devices, particularly those with rapidly changing visual stimuli, you know, we all know what they are: YouTube, Reels, video games. Those put the nervous system on high alert. And while they're fun, they can trigger dopamine pathways that can create dependence and actually worsen this dysregulation over time. Our brains, they just get stuck in that fight or flight stage. Now, by contrast, device free play engages the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain, it actually helps them build regulation capacity. That part of the brain, it is needed to regulate the nervous system. So activities like building forts, board games, puzzles, creative things provide so many regulation benefits from the proprioceptive input of crawling in these forts and jumping around on the bed to promoting what, neuroscientists call flow states from doing puzzles or games. And this is where their focused attention naturally goes for a long period of time to help the nervous system create that vagal tone and really settle in on that calm work or that repetitive state. Number three, incorporate regular physical activity. It can make a huge difference. Now, this goes a lot with number one of being outside, but physical activity and movement is medicine for the nervous system. From family walks, simple yoga poses, even gentle stretching routines. I can tell you this from my family. We actually have our kids do a routine of where they would do certain stretches. They do like 10 push ups, they'd have to do a few sit-ups, then we would do burpees, and we just have this, and then they get a little star chart or a check mark. But it was crazy to see them do these few things and then immediately take a big deep breath and actually be calmer in the moment. So those activities, they actually help calm the brain, and they start the brain in a less than stressed out state. Whereas if you wake up and you immediately go to a show or a video game or something like that, it starts the day in stress. Now, specifically movements that cross the midline of the body can really help integrate the right or left hemispheres of the brain. So what this really looks like is if a kiddo is playing, it's focusing on rotation movements or throwing a ball back and forth. These are really powerful, especially if a child is struggling more with motor developmental delays or that motor system is really wrapped up. And they can feel like they can sit still. Working cross midline is actually going to help them work both sides of their brain and really help with cognitive processing. All right, number four, and add this to your notes, really utilizing deep pressure activities. I love this because oftentimes this has been reserved just for kiddos that struggle with sensory challenges, but deep pressure stimulation, it actually activates what we call mechanoreceptors in our bodies and on our skin that directly signal the parasympathetic nervous system, which actually counteracts the signs of stress and anxiety and sensory overload. This is why weighted blankets, generally 10% of body weight, can be effective for sleeping and calming. Other things you can do: big bear hugs of your kids, gentle squishing with pillows. I just call it wrestling. Just get after it, right? My kids love to wrestle. It's like when I get home from work and they're immediately like, Dad, let's go wrestle. This type of input, wrestling, deep pressure, is especially beneficial during transitions or before high stimulus activities. In fact, there's actually new research that says kids actually sleep better if they wrestle or a little bit more pressure based activities before bed. So big hugs, big squeezes, big wrestling matches, those are all actually okay. It actually helps them feel safe, protected, and actually settle the body down. So really cool. So don't get mad at dad for having that big wrestling match right before they go to bed. They actually can sleep better from that. I don't know, experiment with it, and that's what the research says. So number five, incorporate auditory or smell interventions. Auditory and the nose and the olfactory system, they have direct pathways to the emotional centers of the brain, making them really powerful tools for children's regulation. So soft rhythmic music, you can find, that is, certain beats and synchronization, and just, even classical music, they're naturally inducing a calmer state. This is where, essential oils come in too, lavender and a lot of these relaxing oils, they can actually input an olfactory system to say, so in the nose, hey, let's decrease cortisol, let's rest, let's relax. And studies show that these effects aren't just subjective, they're actually measured these out in controlled trials. So really cool to use visual, auditory, sensory signals to really calm the brain. Now, when we look at all of these things together, these top fives, likely as a parent you have tried these. Not uncommon to see and say, hey, I do all of this and I still struggle. Well, here's my number 6 point. You may need to help get momentum. If you've tried all of the above and still are stuck, then neurologically focused chiropractic care can come in to help calm the stuck stress patterns of the system. and is especially helpful during particularly stressful or busy periods. That's oftentimes when we get stuck as a family or families and we just can't do the above five things to get over the hump. Now, consistent chiropractic care, it actually creates a regulation foundation, a base of support that helps when your child's nervous system function gets overwhelmed so it can then, function optimally. When combined with the five above that we talked about, right? Get them moving, get them outside, the deep pressure, the sensory, all those things we can do at home. This allows their kiddos to have more slack in the rope. And I love this term slack in the rope because when it comes to emotional and behavioral regulation, we need to not start at an 8 or a 9 or a 10. We need to start at a 2 or a 3, and these activities are going to help our kids calm down. Now remember that nervous system patterns develop over time, and retraining them also takes time and consistency. So don't get discouraged if sometimes these don't work. That workout routine I described for my kids, we had to do that for a few weeks until they wanted to do it, and then it became just a habit. So you might not see dramatic changes overnight, but you'll start to see it if you really do these things and commit to them for 2 to 3 weeks. The key is consistency, not perfection. And if you get stuck, I invite you to come see us, schedule a consultation with Rising Health Chiropractic. During your first visit, we'll perform a comprehensive nervous system assessment, and we'll look at your child's scans, which are essentially just a look into their nervous system to see how either wound up it is or worn out it is. And this helps to measure their function to then create a customized care plan to help them naturally calm and help you get back on track for those five things above to work a lot better. So if you have more questions, click the link in our bio. We have more information. We are absolutely here to help because we've all struggled with this before with our kids, and we want to help you get back on track. God bless.